I'm so grateful for the hard part, for the lessons, because now I can go about my business and I know that these lessons are gonna stick with me because they were tough. Hey guys, welcome back to the Tuesday podcast. I'm Cris Cavallari. I'm 40. I am so I know that there's a lot of people that don't like to age. And we're so used to hearing like with age comes wisdom, and that's not always true. But I can 100% confidently say I'm so grateful to be turning 40. I won't say that 30s were hard. I got on live earlier. Someone was like, what advice would you give your 30-year-old self? And I'm like thinking to myself at first, I had to be careful because I was about to say 30s were really hard, but that's not true. I don't want to say all of 30s was hard. I want to say 32 going into 33, it tested me. It tested me. And I'm going to be honest. I didn't know when I was going to speak about this or what. And sometimes I go back into my memory bank and I'm like, damn, like I said before, sometimes you have to look at a situation and see how you got to where you are now without dwelling on a situation, without sitting in the situation, without feeling those feelings again. Because it's okay to feel those feelings. It's not okay to sit in them. But 30, 32, 33 was like, 33, a lot of people say like, 33 is that shout out to y'all racking up. I don't know how to mute my phone, so you're gonna hear that sound go off the lot. And it's not a flex. It's not any of those, because I remember at one point everyone wanted to post up what they did in a day and how this and this and this and this and this and this. And I've learned that you still can do what you do in a day without telling anybody. I don't know how to turn the sound off. So I think that right now at this given moment, this is my birthday, first birthday recording, being 40, that we just gonna let it rock. But that 32, 33. Matter of fact, my 32nd birthday, I had on a blue dress, a wrap dress. Me and my mother had an apartment together. I had a pixie. I remember the whole night. I remember I went on a date. I remember the person I went on a date with said that they left their wallet at home and I ended up paying. And at that moment, I didn't realize that I was setting a tone. I didn't realize that I was setting a tone for that next chapter of my 30s. Because I'm just naturally a giver. At that moment, when I'm thinking about things now and I'm going back in my memory bank, I'm like, ooh, it was a lot of signs that that tried to get my attention, but I didn't follow them because I was not quiet enough. Because see, when you start telling a story, right, you start thinking about where was I at in my life that welcomed these things, that these things were attracted to. Yes, bullshit comes into your life sometimes unexpectedly, but also what was it about me that I didn't pay attention to the signs? And I remember I paid for that birthday dinner. Shit, I think I was paying for Ubers. I remember somebody wanted a winter coat from the Gap. I even got the coat from the Gap, and I don't think they've ever got me a present, but that's here nor there because I'm so blessed now. It's like, okay. But I remember that 32. This is going to be a little explicit. So if you are not ready for it, maybe you should watch this after hours when the kids are asleep. But I remember in my 32, I had intercourse with a person and music was on. And I remembered the song But you know how sometimes you listen to a song, you love the beat, you love this, but you don't listen to the song. And it wasn't until after, because I recorded this thing, this person probably still has it, but after the fact, I remember watching this video and listening to the song, and the song was Fool's Gold by Jill Scott. If you haven't heard that song, I want you to listen to it. Fool's Gold. Y'all know what Fool's Gold is. It's not real gold. It's fool's gold. Like you go, you rush to get it. It's not real. Once you get it under that, that do that good appraisal, you're like, oh, this isn't. You ever watch those shows? Those pawning shows, like where you could go pawn your jewelry, or you can see what you can get for this, like the auction, not the auction, whatever it's called, but you take it in, you like, yeah, I'm gonna get some money for this. And they like, oh yeah, this is counterfeit. I can honestly say at 32, I did not properly vet. I did not properly get an appraisal. I didn't get an appraisal on a lot of things at 32. I was thinking about it earlier when I was on live, and I was like, oh my gosh, so many things had happened in this time that piled up on top of things, piled up, piled up, piled up. I lost my aunt. This happened. I'm in between jobs. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. It was so much like hoarding, emotional hoarding, that I could not get through my feelings, right? I could not. I just was like, I was just maybe numb. I don't know. I was not paying attention. I did not sit still long enough to hear God. I didn't. I was moving fast. I was going out. I was drinking too much. I was just hanging. You just be doing shit. And it wasn't until after I had my son that I got pregnant. And then after that was 7 years. My son just turned 7. I'm 30. I'm 30. I'm 40. I'm 40. My son just turned 7. So this whole 33 to 40 was a lot. But I see it now as boot camp. I was in really for real transformation, and I didn't know. But I'm watching this video and I'm hearing Fool's Gold, and now everything is making sense. And after a while, you have those moments. You're like, whoa, oh shit! These were so many signs that because I had so much going on, I was not still. I didn't sit still enough to even take an inventory of how I was feeling. So when a young lady's like, oh, what would you say 30? What's the best advice? I'm like, slow down. You know, do the work now so you can. I really do. And not everything is not perfect. Life is not going to be like, everything, new levels, new devils, new situations, whatever, however you want to say it, more money, whatever. All these things are, it's almost like Pac-Man. You get past one level, you gotta go to a harder level. You know what I mean? You Pac-Man, you die, you gotta come back and relive this shit again. But I realized when she said like, oh, what would you? I'm like, oh, everything I'm saying I actually did. It took me a minute. I seem to be getting distracted along the way because I didn't, it's almost like buying new things and you don't clear out the old things. You have nowhere to put these things. You have you buying stuff to pile on top of things. And we just get, you forget sometimes. You ever order groceries and then you get home and you putting the groceries up and you realize, damn, I didn't need this season. I already had this. Oh, I didn't need this. I already have this. Or you throwing it out to get more and it's the same thing that you didn't use last time. So I think that the inventory was not really, it didn't match up. So I'm telling her like, slow down. Stop looking to the left of you, the right of you, in front of you, behind you. Stop. Just be very clear that what you do now will mold and shape you for later. I didn't listen the first time when I had an opportunity to, and I'm not going to say I didn't listen, but I didn't take advantage of the free time that I had. I wanted to do too many other things that were not getting me prepared for where I was going. And when that happens, when you don't listen, it gets harder. You know, your parents say that, like, you know what? You're going to have to learn the hard way. You are. A lot of us are going to have, that's the only way you're going to learn. You can learn from others' mistakes as you realize, like, whoa, like, you know, when you start looking at it like that, like, ooh. But sometimes that's not how we look at, most of the times, that's not how we looking at things. But I could honestly say I thought 30s was going to take me out of here before I had the baby. During my pregnancy. During my pregnancy, I felt inside out. I felt my body was inside out. I could feel everything. I could feel, and I did not understand it. But I got through it and I worked so hard those last, you know, the last 6 years, 7 years. Like literally, I've worked so hard and I kept my head down. The only thing I would say is because I worked so hard and I kept my head down, I couldn't see that it wasn't just one thing. It was a lot of things, right? So you focusing on this one person that is doing this when it's not a person, it's a spirit. So the spirit can transfer to wherever it needs to be at that time, and you can be distracted and all of these other things. But to really sit down and get quiet and start having real conversations with God, and not just scriptures, or like not just the, you know, let me just say this, like really, you don't know how everything you say is a spell. Everything you say can manifest. Like so it's better to speak about things in a positive way and not in a victim standpoint, you know, victim consciousness. And I just thought like, wow, I could have been bitter. I could have been bitter. I could have been a lot of things, but I chose to just get better. I chose to really study myself, and I chose to love upon myself and nurture on myself after that storm. It was like, wait a minute. And now that I'm on this side, because there's a lot of like when we, you know, you bolt from this side to this side, you could keep going. You're going to get further and further and further away from the shit that tried to distract you. And I'm sitting here at 40 and I'm thinking about all the times I didn't listen and how if I listened the first time, it would be different. But then I also realized that, hey, every detour is necessary sometimes because I didn't get the lesson. I got to do this again. If I do this again and I pay attention now, okay, that's why sometimes in class they give you a retest and y'all still don't study. You try to remember like, oh, wait, this one, maybe you don't study. I can, with my chest, say that I am the lady that I looked up to when I was 20. I was the lady that came into BB one day, shout out to Robin, with a blazer, some nice jeans, loafers. She had a nice watch on, a razor cut. She was so nice. She was so soft spoken, but very stern. She was just like a bossy ass lady. Shout out to Teresa. She would come when I was in middle school and she would sit with me and help me with my schoolwork and talk to me about these things. But I remember how she carried herself. I've had great examples of women outside of my family, outside of these places where I'm like, I didn't know much, but I felt their presence. And I'm like, oh my God, were they 40 around the time that I met them? I don't really like, you know, I have this villain sleeve, but I would never, if given an opportunity again, have my daughter watch like a Cinderella movie or like a Disney princess movie. Disney got some shit going on with them right now, but I would never really like, oh, let's watch this Princess and the Frog and Rapunzel and all of these things. So I'm like, girl, that keeps us in this waiting for something to help you, and you are the help that you are. Everything you need is inside of you. But when I seen these beautiful examples of women, Black women, just like my brand icon, like I always think of the women that shook some shit up, that did it scared, that got to the other side, that are still getting to the other side after that side. And I'm like, I'm really that lady. I'm that lady. Like, I'm the new ancestor. You know, I am somebody to the younger girl looking at me. Like, I'm that lady for them. I'm her. And not like, yeah, I'm that girl. I'm that girl. No, 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 no. I really manifested the life that I'm living. Even when it felt like it was, so far away from me, it wasn't. I think that, there's this thing like fake it till you make it. I don't even think that a lot of us are not faking it. You should definitely carry yourself as if you're already her. In a small little 1-bedroom apartment with no car, walking wherever it is that you are that lady. You just got to get to the other side. I had a dream one day and I seen myself as a grandmother. I'm not in a rush to be a grandmother, but I seen myself as a grandmother, and I seen my house, and I seen all my acres of land, and I seen like my wraparound porch, and I seen my grandkids over here, and I seen my children over here, and I just seen like it was just a place where everybody would come to get, like I was like, who the hell? But it wasn't like just a dream. It was like, it was a glimpse into my future. To know that my 30s had to go the way that they went to get me here. My 30s were a catalyst in my growth. My 30s really, like, even though I was a little, I seen these women and I never knew what their life really was like. I really seen like, oh, sometimes we watch movies and you're like, oh my God, I'm Joan. I'm Joan was crazy, but I'm this person, I'm Samantha. I'm this, you get into character mode, and it's like, sometimes you need that delusion, because if I didn't see these strong women that kept themselves together, it was this one picture of my mom. She had on this blazer, these short, like these black stockings. She had like a bang and a little fan situation, red lipstick. I remember like those type of things. And I'm like, I don't know what she was going through at the time, but I see how she got up and got herself together. I'm looking around me and I'm like, everything that I seen up until now, I took a piece of this, piece of this, a piece of this. I love this. So I love to travel. I took a piece of that, piece of that. And I became exactly like I wrote my own novel. It's crazy. It's crazy how one day you're going to wake up. You're not going to feel that way on the way there. You're going to be like, what the fuck? You're not going to feel that way. But one day you're going to wake up and you're going to really look around and you're going to be like, I prayed for this. I dreamt about this. I manifest. Like, I'm really living in a lot of prayers right now. I'm so grateful to see 40. I'm so grateful for the hard part, for the lessons, because now I can go about my business and I know that these lessons are going to stick with me because they were tough. They were tough. If you would have told me at 32 that I would be where I am at 40, although I was delusional, although I thought about it at that dark moment, I would have never said, oh yeah, I'm going to be there in a couple years. I would have been like, I'm just going to you got to keep going. Like you literally keep going. Keep moving. Small steps count. You may not take like a leap into like the ocean, and it's like, oh, you small baby steps count. I remember a friend of mine being like, oh, you don't gotta tell people about where you've been and where. I'm like, but how can I not? How can I not tell you that I've always worked. I've always worked. Never not had a job. But even with my jobs, I was not always stable because a lot of my money was going to things that did not matter. I was going here, I was going there, I was doing this, I was doing that. Typical 20-something-year-old spending all your money just to have that one day of fun, and you not really planning for your future. But I'm happy I did that then, because now I know I'm not missing out on anything. Now I've experienced all the things, and it's a hard with it's a hard thing to describe sometimes, because then you'll start noticing there's not a lot of people that are actively doing the work. They're saying they're doing the work. You're going to be alone sometimes because you've done the work, and you're going to maybe, mismatch with a couple things that you used to be in sync with, and now you're not in sync anymore because we're not evenly yoked. And that's in relationships and friendships and whatever. It will feel scary. It will feel like everybody must go. But the more you carry, your hands aren't open to receive more. The more you pile things up on top of each other, you have nowhere to put this new thing at. So it's like time to declutter. Declutter in your 30s, buy smarter. Don't just get something just cuz. Like, really start envisioning yourself where you want to be and start treating yourself as such. If I would have listened to those lyrics to that song and that tape, mentally I could have saved myself years of headache. If I would have sat still and listened to a lot of things, if I would have took inventory of how I was treated in situations where I was overly giving and I was coming out with the short end of the stick. I was the first one showing up. I was the last one to leave. I would study how I'm treated so I knew not to overplay my position. I could have been doing, and let me say this, because I see where I am now. I already know I've done the work. But I know if I would have paid attention sooner, I would have been here sooner. And everything is on the timeline that it needs to be on. Yes, that's true. But if I don't have to keep repeating the lesson, I would prefer that. I would prefer to get it the first time. 2 times if I really needed to, but the first time would be nice. So moving forward from 40 and up, I'm 40. I'm the adult. I don't think anybody ever feels like that until they're already there. And you're like, fuck that, I'm the auntie. Like, I'm the adult. I am responsible for me. I'm actually responsible for other people. That's crazy. Responsible, but actually capable. I don't care what nobody say. Double digits to make you get your shit together. Having multiples will be like, ooh, I got a lot. I got to do this. It's a beautiful feeling, but it's just like to know that your hard work it wasn't in vain. I want to go get like a salad and go get a glass of wine before I pick Goliath up from my mom's. I came to work. I did this. I did that. But I'm like, I want to leave early. It's not really early. It's probably, I don't know what time it is, but it's time for me to go. 40 feels like a warm hug. Like, hey, it feels like, and I've only been 40 for a couple days, but 40 feels like I'm on that wraparound porch, preparing for the rest of my life. 40 feels like all flow and no force. 40 feels like releasing earlier than, sooner than later. Like, it just feels like I'm ready to see how good it can get. I'm ready to stay seated and just watch all of this beautifulness come together. It's like the life after the storm. It's like watching that rainbow after the storm. But this year, my word is adapt, adapt, adapt. Everything is adapt. Go with go. Just let it flow. That's what we doing today. Okay. We're not going there today. Okay. It's nothing we could do. We're not supposed to go. It's protection, whatever. It's just, hey, there's no resisting. I wanted to talk about something totally different on here, but I wanted to be consistent. So I'm like, every time I think that the podcast, I'm like, oh, I don't know how that one was. It always turns out to be like the one that everyone loves. And I'm like, girl, I was just rambling. Everywhere I go, whether it's the studio, whether it's at home, I feel at home. I feel at peace. I feel like I'm sitting on my favorite couch. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. Hmm. I really feel like I can see myself in 10 years. I can see myself in 20 years. And I still remember myself from 10 years ago and 20 because she's coming along and she's just as proud. She's so proud. Little Crystal, we get to play. Mm. We get to do all the things. We get to love up on every stage of us. And we're not ashamed of any stage of us. The sleeping on the couches, the car that breaks down, each one of those versions of us, myself, has gotten us here. Don't leave any part of you out. Every part of you matters. Because when you get to the other side and you look across and you just, you bring them over. You don't try to hide it. Because at that moment, you worked really hard. I know this is probably like to me right now. I'm like, child, what the fuck are you talking about? Cut it off, do it over. But this is just a wow. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me this week on Is It Tuesday podcast. I'll see you soon.